Okay, so we are going to be learning tonight about washing clothes. Up until now, by the way, you missed a few classes, so what we've been learning is about washing clothes in not the regular way, shaking them off and maybe scratching off some dirt and some dew, exactly, all of that stuff. We didn't really learn about the real way to wash clothes.
In the bucket, like the whole time.
Exactly. The real way to wash clothes is with water, like this right here. That is the real way to wash clothes. And one transgresses that, actually, whether one uses water or other cleansing liquids, like saliva, for example, detergent. Actually, according to most poskim, even if you use something that is going to make it dirty, but it's going to be cleaner than you started with. You know what I'm saying? You take Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola can be used to lift some stains, by the way. It's an effective stain remover. When you put the Coke on it, it's messy. But it is removing a greater dirt. So it's like a lesser dirt for a greater dirt. That's also considered washing. So that is the topic. And by the way, washing garments applies whether to white garments or colored garments. In the past, we had differences between it. We said when it comes to shaking off dew or dust, so then it's specifically black garments. That is a problem. When it comes to folding, we said white garments are okay. So we had different rules. When it comes to washing with liquid, makes no difference if it's white garments or colored garments. In addition, for your information, it makes no difference if it is wool, linen, cotton, or any other type of material. I will say that there is one of the Rishonim, none other than Maharam, who says that washing clothes only applies to linen. It doesn't apply to anything else. Okay, but nobody knows where he got that from, and it's not the halacha. Halacha l'maaseh applies to all types of garments. And even according to B'Shlomo Zalman and most of the Achrayim, at least the Achrayim that are quoted here in this nice Sefer Dir Shua, I was mentioning this last week, it has Mishnah Berurah on one side, and every page has all the later Achrayim. So it's just a nice resource. Anyway, so he brings many Achrayim who hold that even synthetic fibers, acrylic, nylon, polyester, rayon, all those types, once you form them into a weave and you make a garment out of them, then the regular halachas of washing will apply, as opposed to a rain poncho, some other rubber, plastic thing that's not a weave, that's just plain plastic. That's not going to be washing. The poskim say that's going to be the same as leather. We said last time, you're allowed to put water on leather and rinse it, but you can't scrub the leather together with the water. So they say the same thing applies to those soft kind of raincoats or ponchos. As opposed to hard materials, we mentioned last week, there is no washing even with scrubbing, like a countertop. even water and scrubbing it, obviously not with a sponge, but with a bristle or whatever it is, it's not going to be washing because it doesn't absorb anything. But in any case, when it comes to these materials that are made into a weave, the place can say that is considered like a regular garment for the purpose of washing, and regular halachas of washing applies.
So plastic tablecloth.
Yep.
You could wash it off.
You could definitely use water, no question about it. It's an interesting question. Are you allowed to scrub it? Interesting question, because it is, well, you cannot scrub leather. So soft.
But that has a layer.
What do you mean a layer?
The plastic tablecloth isn't. It's for Shabbat. I mean, it's only getting worse.
What do you mean worse?
Well, why aren't you allowed to scrub that?
Because the Gemara says that rinsing it is not considered washing, but scrubbing it and rinsing it together is considered washing.
Because it can seep into leather.
Not sure. I'm not sure if it could seep in, or maybe it's Darabanan because it's similar to real washing. Some say it's Daraisa. Some say it's Daraisa, some say it's Darabanan. It could be those that say it's Daraisa could say that it could seep in, so therefore scrubbing it is effective. Could be the reason of those that say it's Darabanan is that if you actually scrub it, it looks like washing.
Okay.
So it could be that they're saying the poskim say, poskim that he quotes, say that a nylon rain jacket, you know what I mean, like a plastic rain jacket, you're not allowed to scrub it, similar to leather. So they're holding that soft plastic is like leather. Maybe they're going like the opinions that say Darabanan, and it's similar to washing. So any soft, pliable material that you scrub with water is forbidden for that reason. I didn't look them up, so I'm just saying the possible reason. Yeah.
About jacket, I understand, but if you have a table and you have one flat cover, and this is only one you have, and you already finish eating in that, and you want to use it for after and Shabbat, not
Take it off.
huh?
Take it off.
Take it off? No, it's not good.
Why not? Use the white tablecloth. What do you need the plastic for? The plastic kept it clean for the first meal. Now take it off and you have a beautiful tablecloth.
No, the table, let's say it's not good.
You have a tablecloth underneath the plastic. You know a tablecloth?
No,
Just the table and the
table
plastic.
and the plastic is the cover.
Zeo? Yeah, Shabbat. White tablecloth. Plastic on top of the white tablecloth. For Shabbat. Anyway, b'chol zot, the best way to honor the Shabbat, is to keep Shabbat. That's the best way. So,
or you buy a couple of them and then you just.
that's also true. That's also true. I'm just saying, in terms of if it's a problem to wash it, the fact that you don't have anything else is not gonna make it all right.
What about drop or bandruff? What do they call it? If you get on your kaput, it's black, and it's. Or can you shake it off?
No. That's the same as the dust. Same as dust. If it's new, Sfardim can be mekel, exactly. For Ashkenazim, if it's new or it's, like Shabbos clothes that you try to keep good looking and it bothers you, can't shake it off.
So if it doesn't bother you, you can.
Doesn't bother you, you can. That's correct.
Meaning if you wear
Exactly.
you get a question now?
I think yes, because Rashi's opinion is only one opinion and the other. Certainly not if he's at the age of chinuch. No, I'm saying if he's at the age of chinuch and Ashkenaz and Pasna is also, you can't tell him to do it. If he's under the age of chinuch, it's similar to a goy, although it's still not preferred.
Started it?
I don't think so. It depends on what the level of Isser is. If we hold that it's Aser min adin, then you can't ask another Jew to do it. If you hold it's only a Chumrah, then you can. So like using the Eruv, I ask my kids to carry stuff for me, or even Bar Mitzvah people that use the Eruv, I ask them, because I hold that the Eruv is a good Eruv, and I don't use it as a Chumrah, so whatever. But I'm not sure. Not sure about it in this case. Not sure.
Can you do it b'shia or k'lan? Like while you're putting it on really rough.
That's not a shinoi. That's not a shinoi. That's not Kalach Hayad. Kalach Hayad would be like to bang it with your elbow or something.
Right.
I don't know.
Would you be able to put it on like on that so it's even easier? Put it on the regular way.
Yeah, if you put it on and it comes off, that.
Putting it on with like a tough. So your jacket sometimes you put it on and you go like this instead of just putting it on your shoulders.
You're saying why? What's the swar lahat there?
Right, it is your kavanah. Your kavanah is to do that. With my swar it's not an act of actually taking it off. It's just the way you bring it on is getting it off.
I don't know. Hard.
Is it a chumrah? I'm saying the olish can have hold it. Or is it a chumrah?
The Ramah brings it down.
Brings down the toe, no?
It does say toif, yeah. The God the Rebbe says toif also. Tov lachos l'dvarv.
The tov lachos l'dvarv. Tov means a.
Usually tov is not a din. Usually tov is a chumrah.
It sounds like tov lachos. You
Yeah.
have to be suspicious.
Yeah.
Make or din is not possible.
Although, for argument's sake, on the word toiv, the Mishnah Berurah says, look at the Rabbah, who says that it's min adin because many Rishonim agree with Rashi. But he does allow you to do it through a goy. Especially if it's covered abrius, a person has barris, he's dust on his garments and whatnot. Okay. I don't know about Kalach Hayad. One thing I have to clarify, because I said it at the end of last year, and then I said it to somebody, and he's not so happy about it. So I have to see if I can find my head there. I said at the end of last year that Rav Shlomo Zalman is machmir with soft contact lenses, not to put it in a cleaning solution, because he says soft contact lenses is like soft plastic. It's even more than soft plastic because it actually absorbs. The liquid actually goes through. So he says that you can't do it. He says if it's not dirty and you're just putting it in to maintain the moisture, then it's okay. But if you're actually putting it in to clean it, which I think is the normal thing because it gets bacteria usually during the day, you want to kill that bacteria every night, otherwise you can get an infection. So in the cleaning solution, he says it's a problem. Anyway, I told this to a friend of mine. He said, there's only, he says, I don't wear contacts, but he says there's only two kinds of solutions. By the way, the Lubavitch Rebbe was against wearing contacts, just for your information. What's that voice called? I wonder if this is somebody from here. Missed it. The Rebbe was against contact lenses because he felt that they could be damaging to the eye. Certainly then when they were hard, but even later on when they started having soft ones, the Rebbe didn't back down. And he felt that it was not a safe thing. No, I don't wear contacts just because I don't wear contacts. It never even occurred to me. But just the bother of putting them in and taking them out. But if it would have occurred to me, I wouldn't have anyway, because the Rebbe said. But
even though I'm saying, does anybody talk about that nowadays? The ban?
Rabbi Groner should be well.
It's probably been like 40 years. How long did he mess up?
No, it's about 25 years.
When's the last time you spoke?
He didn't back down even in the later years, but yeah, this is many years later.
Things have changed.
Rabbi Groner, the Rebbe's secretary, should be well. He still campaigns against contact lenses based on that. But the fact is,
What about laser eye surgery?
the fact is that I don't know, but
What would that be? Laser eye surgery?
because it can be dangerous. Something goes
Yeah,
wrong.
that has nothing to do with the contact lens.
No, but anything that could,
Elective, that's elective.
it is elective.
Right.
It is elective.
So
in
any
most
elective
cases.
surgery that
In most cases. But the point is that there are stories, you read them every so often, about people that lose their contact lens inside their eye, get infected,
Yep.
and sometimes can even lose their eyesight. And last time around, when I taught this,
See also people breaking the glasses.
that's true too, but on the contrary, sometimes the glass that protects the eyes, when some flying object, you hear stories about that too. Anyway, my uncle actually was puttering and tinkering with a screwdriver and
the guy that invented that. Yeah.
same guy with some electrical thing with the screwdriver, and somehow it was so hot that he realized that it melted the screwdriver and shot a blob of metal back up at his eye. If he wasn't wearing glasses, that's for sure. Who knows what would have happened. Anyway, the point is anyway, last time around I taught this in California Club. I had a young man whose name I don't even remember, who was a service member at one point. It was I don't know if it was the U.S. Army or Navy or Air Force. And he said that they don't let you wear contact lenses in his service. I think it was the Air Force. They don't let you because it's they consider them, not so safe. He said they make an exception for pilots because they feel you can see better in all angles. But for regular Air Force people, I don't know about Army, they said they don't, it's not allowed. Anyway, thought that was interesting. Anyway, back to the point. So my friend says there's two solutions. There's the cleaning and there's the moisturizing. And the cleaning, you only put it in the cleaning one at night. The moisturizing is only used to take it in and out. At night, it has to go in the cleaning one. And he's not masking to my chiddush, so I have to find if anybody disagrees. Anyway, back to what we're learning about.
Well, what would be an issue if you can clean the plastic tablecloth? Why can't you clean the
No, because this absorbs. The liquid actually goes through the soft lenses. Let me just find what I was saying before about the soft plastic. Okay, actually, the Moshe says at Meikar Din it has no kibbutz at all. No. I'm talking about plastic, nylon raincoats or whatever, all of that. because they don't absorb at all, but because it's not explicit in the earlier poskim, obviously they didn't have these things, he says to be strict and consider them like leather and not to scrub. So basically, Mikar then it's mutter, but he says to be strict. Shlomo Zalman says the same thing. So it would seem that the same thing should be with plastic tablecloth.
Did he scrub leather?
Sorry?
What utensil did he scrub leather?
I mean, in the context, it seems to be talking about with your hand. There's mud on it, so you can pour the water. Pouring the water is okay, the Gemara says, but pouring and scrubbing it, presumably with your hand, just to get off the mud, is not good. So the same thing.
No utensil.
So it would seem. We have to look into this question. Plastic tablecloths, scrubbing or not? Yesh la'ayin bazeh. Okay, so here's a little introduction to, I don't know. I think we're on Sif Test in the Mishnah Berurah, or in the Mechaber, I should say. Sif Test in the Mechaber, and Sif Chaf in the Alter Rebbe, correct? Although we didn't, we're not quite ready to start yet, because I want to just give a brief introduction. So here's the introduction. The Gemara says that a beged, when it comes to a garment, shriyasai zehu kibusai, soaking it in water is considered washing it, as opposed to leather, like we said before, which is only washing it. No, water.
But it's without liquid or wet liquid?
Soaking it in water, must have meant water is liquid.
Liquid is the soap.
So no, you don't need any soap. Nothing to do with soap.
Okay.
Soap is for sure, but even without soap, shriyas is kibusay. Just putting it in water is washing it, as opposed to leather that you have to scrub it to be considered washing it. With a garment, shriyas just putting it in water is considered washing it.
So I have a question. So let's say if you drop on the jacket and you got a bucket of water just to drop it over there and leave it, are you allowed to do that?
No.
It's considered washing.
Yeah. Absolutely. They're right. That would be a Torah violation. Okay, now the question is that there are a few Gemaras that seem to contradict that concept, that Shriyas is Kibusay. Let's start with the Gemara in Yuma.
How long is the second, 1 minute?
Makes no difference, a second. Even a second.
What's the question?
Shriyas is Kibusay, even a second. You put it in water for a second. So the water is going to stick to it, right? That's what's going to happen, right? Put it in water, the water gets absorbed. That's already.
You switch the light.
However, I'm not. Just like you can't even put one drop of water on it. If you put it in for a second, one drop gets absorbed. It's already in drop.
It's only taking a second to switch the light.
Exactly.
The same thing.
Exactly. Okay, so the Gemara says that this is in Yuma, Ayin Zayin and base. A person wants to go to see his father or his teacher or any person greater than him in Torah. And the Gemara is going to say later, even the student who wants to go to the teacher, and even a person who wants to go just to guard his fruit. Over b'mayim, he could go in water on Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, you can't go in water. Here you can, because you're not going for the purpose of washing yourself. And it's for mitzvah. So the chachamim were matter. Ad savar, up until your neck. Now you can't go in rushing water over your waist because it's dangerous. But let's say it's not rushing water. It's nice, calm lake.
Why you going to water again?
Because your teacher is on the other side. You want to go hear? No, you want to hear a shear. He's not stuck in the water. He's on the other side in the dry
And
land.
you have no other way.
No other way. No
There's no
no bridge. Sorry?
There's no lock on.
Yeah. It's halacha.
Now I go up to your waist.
Not yeah, because it's dangerous. So
Even if it's light, like a river?
a rushing river, not light. I'm saying rushing river. Yeah, I don't know how fast it's rushing. Whatever. So the point is, now as an aside, not really to get to this discussion, but as an aside, the Gemara says that you have to make a shinui when you walk through the water to remind you that you shouldn't squeeze out your garments, because that's a problem. Squeezing out garments on Shabbos Yom Tov is forbidden. Because, like we said in the past, it's an aspect of washing. In order to wash something, you make it wet and then you squeeze out the water, and out comes the water and the dirt. So squeezing is an Issa also. So you have to do it in such a way that you're not going to squeeze. You make a shinui, you do something different to make sure that you're not going to squeeze it. It's an interesting shinui, by the way, because the shinui that you make is that you don't lift up your garment. Normally, when you would walk through water, you would lift it up a little bit so it wouldn't get so wet. No. Here, you walk with your hands on your side, so it gets all wet. And because you're like, what are you doing? You're crazy? Yeah, I'm showing, I don't care. Full of water, I don't care. Once you start, you try to keep it dry, and it doesn't keep dry. It's wet, you're upset, you're going to squeeze it. This way, you just let it get wet, and that's it.
And how do you go up?
You walk straight up. What do you mean? You walk.
And when you go up, the water comes to...
It drips, and you can't squeeze it.
Remember, you go to second of mitzvah.
Yeah.
But let's say you had in mind, but halfway up the river, you changed mind and going back. The problem for him?
Change your mind. You allowed to change your mind? Is that the question? Is that your question?
You change it now. What is it like? Not so now.
Your wife called him back.
The water, not by second of mitzvah.
Now it's too late. What do you mean? Can you go back? Is that your question?
Yes.
What else are you going to do?
Your wife called you back.
Violation?
It's not a Torah violation. You wouldn't be allowed to do a Torah violation for a mitzvah. Now that you did it, is it a rabbinic violation? I don't know.
But your wife called back, so you have to go back.
No. So the question is that the poskim ask, why don't we say Shriyasai Zehu Kibusai? That walking in the river is making his garments wet. And Shriyasai Zehu Kibusai, making them wet is cleaning it. Yeah?
It's like you're going to tefillah with your clothes.
Yeah, same thing. Actually, that's another Gemara. That is a contradiction to this, actually. Because the Gemara says that the nida is ma'aremes v'teveles bivgodeha. Normally, you cannot toivel your kalim on Shabbos and Yom Tov. But a nida is allowed to toivel for herself. For herself, she's allowed to, right? So she could make a trick and wear her tummy clothing, and while she's toiveling for herself, she can toivel her clothes too. Now, it can't be tight because then it'll be a chatzitza, but if it's loose, then it's okay. Now, again, the question is, what do you mean? She's cleaning those clothes? Same question as this. Yes?
Wait, why was she wearing clothes?
Why? Because she wanted to make them tahar. You can't toivel clothes or any kalim on Shabbos and Yom Tov if you do it in a open way. But here you're doing it in a tricky way. So that's allowed. So what's going on? Why don't we say Shriyasai Zehu Kibusai? And finally, the last question. Tonight is Yahrzeit Rachel Imeinu, indeed. The last question is the Gemara in Shabbos Kuf Chaf Amud Aleph, talking about fires on Shabbos, talks about a talus that has a fire on it. And it says, according to one opinion,
How we got the fire, Rabbi?
how did it get a fire? Because you went too close to the candle.
Oh.
So, according to one opinion, you're allowed to pour water on the other side of it, around the fire, not on the fire, around the fire, so that when the fire reaches the water, it will stop.
You think that way it can be a fire on the house?
I'm not talking about a fire in the house. I'm talking about a talus.
Talit is
A
continuous.
talus is on fire. It's not going to make the house on fire because it's on the floor. It's a concrete floor. That's it. Nothing else.
Even the Rita house on fire.
That's another point. Whatever. Nothing else. No people. Nothing. Talus on the floor.
It's a wood floor, Rabbi.
I'm telling you, it's a concrete floor. Now, you're going to pour water around the fire, and it's going to stop the fire from spreading into the rest of the talus. That's allowed, according to one opinion. It's machlokes. According to one opinion, it's allowed. And the question is, you're cleaning the talus, pouring water on the talus. What's going on? So these are all questions. I'm sorry?
It's a basur.
Well, it doesn't make a difference. If it's a psik reisha, if it's a definite consequence, then it's a problem. Anyway,
Nicolay too.
generally it would be nichole if you clean something. Generally, it's good.
Maybe you clean, but the talit is pasul. It's a good fire. It's a good big hole in the middle where it's not good. So
You can cut it in half and use it for your kid,
Which kids?
the little ones.
And the one with fire, Rabbi? Smell fire all the time?
You cut it in half, big deal.
Fire doesn't go.
In the olden days, they didn't throw things out. There was no such thing. Half, quarter, third. You always had. You figured out what to do with it. Okay, so here are two answers. There's a third opinion, which I still have to figure out. But the two answers are as follows. One answer is Rabbeinu Tam. Rabbeinu Tam says, Derech lichluch is mutter. Derech lichluch means if you put water on it in a way that is generally considered to be making it dirty. That's allowed. So for example, when you walk through a river wearing your clothes, nobody considers that a way to wash your clothes. On the contrary, when you do that, you would usually come home and you would want to wash your clothes again. From mikvah is the same thing. You go in a mikvah with your clothes. I mean, that's not a way to wash. That's a way that it gets dirty.
Yeah, but
It's chlorine.
also not a way to wash.
It's the beginning of a normal way to wash your clothes.
I
It's the
think
beginning. It's not the end, but it's the beginning. But to wear it into water is not anything.
it's chlorine. I don't think you want to be, you have your clothes and the mikvah, it's chlorine over there.
Okay,
So it make it damage the clothes.
you don't have to.
So it doesn't consume by cleaning, Rabbi. Right? Because you're going to wash it like you said, the Lord said that.
Why you
You
cannot
wash
take
it
it
again.
out with you?
Those days they didn't have chlorine. No chlorine.
Baruch Hashem.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
He's saying that if you're wearing the purpose to make it dirty, so it's fine. But usually you're going to wash something that is dirty. So if it's not dirty, so it doesn't look like you're washing your clothes.
That's another answer. One answer at a time. One answer at a time. The first answer is that it's derech lichluch, is that you're doing it in a way of lichluch, and that's why it's allowed. Now, according to that answer, by the way, the Gemara in Shabbos is Rabbeinu Tam. Yeah. According to the other answer, which is according to this answer, which is Rabbeinu Tam, the Gemara in Shabbos about the talus is a problem because pouring it on a talus that you're not wearing is not derech lichluch, right? So, that opinion, Rabbeinu Tam will have to say that when it says water in that Gemara, it actually says water. It doesn't mean water. It means liquid. And you have to use wine or something else that is not a cleansing liquid. That's opinion number one.
What is the answer up to that? That's
Sorry?
the answer up?
Yeah.
When it says water, is it really mean water and then it's
Yeah.
disgusting water?
Yeah, or some other liquid. The truth is maybe he had a different gears in the Gemara. I'm not sure. I don't know if I saw that or if I'm making it up. Could be he had a different gears in the Gemara. Maybe it didn't say water. But Akoponim, the case over there is not with water. It's with another liquid that's not considered a cleansing liquid. Juice, anything.
If you have a piece of mud and you want to get rid of it,
And you what?
you have mud on the tap.
Yeah.
You have to put juice or wine on it instead of water.
No.
The stick is going to make it dirty.
No. If it's going to make it less dirty, then it's called cleaning. Who said?
The mud is really stain.
I understand.
You're really going to wash it.
I understand. But if it's going to make it less dirty than it is, it's still considered cleaning. The poets can discuss it.
The mud is this side. Now the juice going to make it size.
I understand, but it's a better option because you prefer to have it, a little bit red than muddy. I'm saying the poets can discuss it. I'm not making it up. I think the Beis Yosef is the one who says it. That if you do something that is normally considered lichluch, but you do it to remove a greater lichluch, that's considered cleaning. So this is all Rabbeinu Tam. Now the other opinion, whose name I have to tell you, sorry?
Where are you holding?
I'm just giving you an introduction.
Oh,
Just the sheet is the Rishonim before we let it inside. I think it's the Re. I don't want to say the Re because it's a bunch of Rishonim that quote this opinion. The Rush quotes it, although he also quotes it Rabbeinu Tam. Smag, the Smak. I don't know what name to give him. The other opinion says that we'll just say the Smag and the Smak. Let's stick with that. The Smag and the Smak, who are both Baalei Tosfos, by the way. Smag is Reb Moshe of Kusi, and the Smak is of Yitzchak of Korvil. Both of them were also authors of Tosfos. So the Smag and the Smak say that we only say Shriyasei Zeu Kibusei, that soaking a cloth in water is considered washing it if it's a dirty cloth. If it's a dirty cloth, right, you have a stain on it, you have mud on it, you have junk on it, and you pour water on it, that's washing. But if you have a clean garment, even if it's been worn, and even if it's not so clean anymore, but it doesn't have a specific stain, doesn't have a specific, area that's dirty, then Shriyasai Eino Kibusei. Soaking in water is not going to be considered washing it. Now the Mishnah Berurah adds, by the way, that if you put it in the washing machine, that's washing it. I mean, they didn't have washing machines. But I'm saying if you really wash it, scrub it and soap and rinse it and squeeze it, that is washing. But just soaking it when there is no stain is not considered washing.
So why would you do that?
yeah, why?
Because you want to walk through the river to see your teacher. I'm saying he uses this to explain those Gemaras. You're going to walk through the river. You're going to see your teacher. But your clothing are clean. That's not washing it. The same thing with the Nida going to the mikveh in her clothes, and the same thing with the talis. See, this opinion can say that it's water, You have a talus, it's burning. You can take water and pour it around the fire, but it's a clean talus, so it's okay. That's not considered washing.
I got two questions. One question, you got a smartwatch and you don't have a cover for the table. And you have only table, you're allowed to clean that.
One more time, I
You
didn't.
got have smartwatch, right? And then you clean you want to clean the table. You're allowed to do that?
A dry one.
No wait.
No, not wet.
You don't allow to wait.
No, you can't use it wet. Can't use it
Only
wet.
dry.
Only dry.
What's up if the drink fall on the table?
Then what?
If the towel is allowed to clean it?
What's the purpose of using the towel?
Otherwise, the food is going to be debraded with the water, you know?
You can put the towel there to absorb it. You can't squeeze it. You can just put it down.
Just put it down.
Put it down. Underneath it, on top of
And
it.
for the table, you have to clean it with dry.
Dry, only dry, yeah.
How about the girl, just to give you an idea?
What do you mean?
Let's say, according to the smart in the smart, let's say the person thinks that his garment is clean, but let's say it's that dirty when he was walking in the back, and somebody says that his garment is dirty, according to for him, it's clean. And someone else can see that it's actually dirty.
So let him tell him. What do you mean? What's the question?
No,
Tell
the
him.
point is that the person has to know that his garment is clean or dirty before he goes to the river.
Yeah. You should check. According to this, you should check. Yeah. Another point that Mishnah Berurah says over here, by the way, a very interesting point, is that this is all when your intent is not to clean it. If your intent is to clean it, it's a problem, even if it has no stain. But if your intent is not to clean it, and it has no stain, that's not a significant act of cleaning, and it's okay.
Second question.
Yeah.
About the talit, the fire.
Yeah,
You're allowed to put the water around.
yeah.
So you put
It's
the
a
water.
machlokes, but yeah, that's halach.
So you put the water around, and when in this area you put a little bit more, and it come in this direction. It's okay.
No. You can't put it in a way that the water is going to go to the fire.
How do you know?
You have to be careful. You can put it only in a way that the fire is going to go to the water, and then it's going to stop.
It's like when you stand in Amidah, you have a crowd, you know, you don't want to stay over there. You have fire, you don't want the fire to get going. You just put it around,
You have to
and
be
without
careful.
thinking, you know, just
You have to think.
have to think.
It's Mr. Durban to shovel fire.
To put out a fire, that is, well, over here, it actually is going to leave pefon. It's going to leave a black, thing. You're not doing it for that, so it's a malacha shein sarah she'ein sarech lagufa.
So it's the one.
It's Darabanan, yeah. One of the most places. One of the most places. One of the most places. Two people with shinui.
I mean, we're talking about fire. It's not like something you just deal with later. Two people grab a bucket with the binkies, start filling up buckets and start throwing it on there. Stir on it to get it on. But
In Siman Shin Lamed Daled, which is a simon that I've never learned with this group. In Siman Shin Lamed Daled, it says, yes. In Siman Shin Lamed Daled, it says, on the contrary, when there's a fire, you have to let it burn. Because, exactly, you can't even save anything beyond your basics. Because we're afraid once you start saving, you're gonna lose your head. You're gonna stop thinking, and you're gonna just put it out. So how much more so if you're gonna try to put it out in a permissible way? That's even more of a svara that you're gonna not do it properly.
start getting things.
The only things you're allowed to save is what you need for 3 meals. And kisvei kodesh, holy, okay, and holy svara. Because if you start to save more than that, you may get so nervous and you'll just put out the whole fire. And this way, you know, it's like everything in the home is lost. Forget about it. Just take your basics and that's it.
Supposed to let your home burn.
Exactly. In those days,
Nowadays, it's a lot
it was a
easier.
much higher level. No, on the contrary, in those days, they had nothing. So they were like,
No,
Rabbi,
they had a home. What do you mean they had nothing?
They had.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but you had a home.
That's true. But now our possessions, we have much more physical possessions than they had. But
So you-
nevertheless,
Rabbi, you let the house burn if the Ner Shabbat is like a fire?
if there's no people that are going to get hurt,
Yes,
Okay.
kids or this,
if there's people that could get hurt, then you put it out.
then you're allowed to do
Not
that.
that I'm trying to get into Shalom Bell now, but what's the together of, let's say, there are kids in the house and you don't know how quickly the fire's going to.
And you put it out. Whenever there's a doubt, you have to put it out. Or if it could spread to somebody else's house, whenever there's any kind of doubt, you have to put it
In
out.
Florida, it's very dangerous. You can go all the neighbor. You don't have a fire, it doesn't.
I mean, Florida's not New York. New York is much more packed.
Much more condensed.
But yeah,
Not your attention, but you wanna get home to make it. This party doesn't happen.
I think it's okay. Because what are the chances that it's going to fall exactly on that spot in a way that's going to clean it? You know what I mean? If you can't do it purposefully. Can do it purposefully, but if you're going home and it's not kederach, it's not your intention, it's not. I don't think so. Okay, so let us. I'm just going to mention the third opinion, and I do have to say that I don't really understand him, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Who is it?
It's the Maharam.
Give it sense.
Do I have it inside?
It's a long copy.
No. It's mentioned in the tour. The Maharam does not buy into either of these theories. Doesn't buy into either of these theories. He says you can't do derech lichluch, and you can't do it with a clean garment. The only thing he allows is a davar mu'at. A davar mu'at, a small amount.
So it's not giving you allowed to walk to the river.
Oh, so that's the question. What does he do with walking through the river? So I'll get back to that in a minute. But let me just explain the small amounts. For example, the Maharam would say that when you wash your hands, before you dry them in a towel, you should shake them off so there's only a small amount on them, and then it's okay. The same thing when it comes to a person who went to the mikveh or whatever, went into the water. You should push the water off him. See some people doing that in the mikveh, actually. Push the water off them and then dry yourself, because it's a davar mu'at. By a davar mu'at, again, when you're not intending to use a small amount of water to purposefully wash, obviously that's not allowed. But if you're doing it in that way where it's not intended and it's a small amount, that's the only way he says it's allowed. So the question is, what does he do with, the Gemara about the talus, we said, okay, maybe it's not water, maybe it's other non-cleansing liquids. What does he do with the Gemara about walking through the water on Yom Kippur? Now, I did see an answer that he says that the Gemara there is talking about leather garments.
To walk to the river.
Walk through the river. Only with leather garments. Because leather, we don't say Shri Yaseh Zeh Kippusei. So according to the Maharam,
But only the top garment will be leather.
no, leather, pure leather,
Rabbi,
everything.
We don't-
In other words,
Rabbi,
As they say in Yiddish, akasha afamaisa.
Rabbi,
Akasha afamaisa. You asked me a question on the story. This is what happened.
Rabbi,
He was going to this.
and Yom Kippur, you don't
It
know
was a
to have
woman. It
leather,
was a
Rabbi.
woman. She was going to her shiur.
Right? No leather Yom Kippur, Rabbi.
You can wear leather, just not shoes. Mutar, just not shoes.
What's the difference?
Difference.
Leather shoes, or leather anything else.
Exactly. You can wear
Leather
leather
belt.
on Yom Kippur,
What's the reason
just
for the
not shoes.
shoes? Leather.
Comfort, because in the old days, there was a form of
Well,
Whatever.
so if you have a jacket with the leather, is
They
it
didn't have
also
leather.
comfortable?
They didn't have leather jackets in those days.
Yes, they did. Why not?
But it had nothing to do with walking.
Nothing to do with
That's
jacket.
what I'm
It was
saying.
walking. Exactly.
It has to do with the walking.
לא היה להם את הספרי נגד מים.
But the fly not gonna.
Okay, my friends. My only question was
What the need of our
also
shoe wearing
leather clothing. And the only question, though,
Cancer, yeah?
I'm sorry.
It's a very
It is a difficult answer, but I was wondering actually, but I just came up with the answer myself now. I was wondering how to, according if that's the pshat, so why can you lift your? There's nothing to squeeze, so why can you lift? So I just realized that there are those that say the whole thing about lifting is actually not about squeezing; it's just about carrying. You can carry on Yom Kippur, and if you lift it up, you'll be carrying it. Exactly. So that's how the Maharam will explain.
So what is basically the opinion?
The Maharam's opinion is that you cannot make any garment wet, even in a way that is considered dirtying it, and even if it's a clean garment. The only thing that's allowed is if it's a very small amount of water.
The river?
He will say that you can only walk to the river in leather garments.
That's what they said.
That's not what he says. That's how the Meforshim explain his opinion.
No. I mean, your rabbi is on the other side waiting for you to study. Otherwise, you cannot go. Right away.
Exactly.
Any answer?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so with that introduction, we begin the Mechamer on Seif Tes. Actually, you know what? Let me just look through the Mishnah Berurah. He has a little introduction here. Let me see if there's anything else that I missed. Okay, yeah, we pretty much covered it.
Good?
The Mechaber is Tes. The Mishnah Berurah is Lamed Tes. He has a nice introduction to this, but I think we covered it. Okay. The Mechaber says, Murtalit and Maim al Gabe Minal L'Shachshachoi. You are allowed to put.
We did last year.
We did Tes? I don't think so.
Yeah, the church, we mentioned it.
Maybe.
No, we did not.
I don't think so.
Chet is also some
I'm sorry?
Chet is similar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Continue, Rabbi.
No, Mishana, that was in the Alter Rebbe. In the Alter Rebbe, we learned this. You cannot, you're allowed to put water on a shoe in order to rinse it. But אנחנו במחבר, בשולחן ערוך של המחבר. נגיע לאלתר רבי עוד מעט. So to wash it, which is to rub one side on the other, asur is forbidden. Aval beged, sheyesh alav lichluch, but a garment that has dirt on it, asur afilu l'shachshacha, you are not even allowed to rinse it. Zeu kibusei, that is considered washing it. I'm going to read the Mishnah Berurah. Pirush also litin olav mayim klal afilu mu'adim. He translates l'shachshech to put any water on it, even a small amount. I'm not sure how we translate this last time, but it's something like that. Yeah, something like rinsing. What can you do? You have this stain, you have this mud, you have this hummus, who knows what. So,
Get it.
smartut.
And you put water in it?
No water. You take a magevet and you scrape off the dirt. Not bedochak. You can't squeeze it because you're going to squeeze out what's absorbed. You just brush it off. The mud. Let's say you have mud, right? dried mud is a problem, so you have wet mud. So you just brush it off, lightly brush it off. That's all.
You cannot shake it like that.
And yischait. You can't, you have to make sure not to squeeze it. Ubegich ain't alav lechloch. Now the Ramah adds, a garment that has no dirt. You're allowed to put a small amount of water, but not a large amount of water lest you squeeze it. Okay, I didn't go into this in the introduction. This is an important point. Even according to the Smag and the Smak, who say that a garment that has no dirt on it, you're allowed to put water on it. Again, not for the sake of cleaning, but you're allowed to walk through water or whatever the reason is. Nevertheless, you cannot put it in a lot of water because you might squeeze it, like the case of walking through the river on Yom Kippur. If not for the fact that your teacher was on the other side, you would not be allowed to walk through that because we're afraid you might squeeze it. So the same thing in any situation, there's an issue that you might come to squeeze it. Yesh oisrim b'chol inyan, and some forbid it regardless. Meaning to say, even if it is a clean garment, they disagree with the Smag and the Smak, and they say that the rules of not putting water on it applies anyway. All right? So far we learned the opinion of the Smag and Smak and those that disagree. We did not mention Rabbi Tam yet. That's coming up in Yud. Haroichitz Yadav. The Machaber actually starts with the Maharam. Haroichitz Yadav, a person who washes his hands. Toiv lenaglem b'koyach zebazeh. It's a good thing to dry them with koyach, one or the other, like with koyach, to throw off the water that's on them. And to remove as much water as possible before you dry them on a towel. This is the Maharam.
Because of the cleaning of the towel?
Because of the cleaning of the towel, exactly.
When you do it like
That's what I just want to explain. Toiv. It's a good thing. Not obligatory, but it's a good thing. Yes.
So when you do Netilat Yadayim, I heard you don't know to shake the water. You just pull up your head like that.
Before the bracha, you shouldn't shake the water. Before the bracha. After the bracha, you can, sure.
Before the bracha, you don't know.
No, before the bracha, you should keep some water and say the bracha and then rub it. You're supposed to rub it.
Okay, and then you do the bracha.
But then,
after the bracha,
you say bracha, then rub.
Okay.
And then you dry it. Yeah.
I was going to ask you about that because the Beit says to do the whole rubbing thing. It's kind of listed to do 3 rubs on each hand. That's before
the bracha? Sure. I don't know.
Maybe that's this. Maybe that's what I said.
No, the Rebbe says to do the bracha first because you want to do the bracha before the mitzvah.
I thought,
Rubbing it gets the water all around. That's part of the mitzvah.
I thought you should put like that and then in the blessing, right? It's a parody.
Yeah, I think it's part of the.
Yeah.
I thought the real Sfardim make the bracha before they wash their hands. No?
No. You have to watch the Rabbi. You have to watch the
I thought that was the Machaber's opinion.
Maybe Tvila, Rabbi. You're talking about Tvila, Rabbi.
No, they're connected. They're connected. Shabbos, their Shabbos, and Tefillah, and Netilas Yadayim.
You must put the water 3 times, and then I think you should like that.
Why? What's the difference? It's the same swore for all of them.
That's what I'm doing. I don't know.
Ashkenazim make a bracha after those so that you shouldn't differentiate. Because Ger has to make the bracha after Tefillah, so we always make it after Tefillah. Washing of the hands in the morning, you can't say the bracha first because your hands are dirty. So even when you're washing for bread, also. But I thought the Mechaber disagreed with all those. But maybe not. Maybe not. No. Say the bracha with the water. Hold it up like that. Look it up. It's printed. It's printed. Okay, we have to look into this matter. Anyway, moving on. Some say you don't have to worry about that. Here comes Rabbeinu Tam. We don't say that soaking a garment is washing, in this case, because this is only a way of lichluch, of making it dirty. And that is the minhag. It's interesting that the Mechaber remains completely ambiguous on this. He says it's a good thing to throw off the extra water from your hands before you dry them, which means that he doesn't hold it's necessary. But he doesn't explain exactly why it's not necessary. Is it because it's derech lichluch, or it's because it's a clean garment? He buys into one of them. Why? Because in Hilchos Yom Kippur, when he talks about going through the water, he says you can go through the water without, he doesn't say leather garment only, but he doesn't clarify which it is exactly that he holds. Is it because it's a clean garment, or it's because derech lichluch? But in any case, he says, the Ramah says, derech lichluch. That's the minhag. שאין זה רק דרך לכלוך בעלמא, אבל לא ניתן מים ממש על המי רגליים כדי לבטלם. Okay, listen carefully. Tremendous chiddush you're about to hear from Rabbeinu Tam. Okay, you're not allowed to daven in the presence of urine, right? That's the halach.
3 feet, right? 3 feet.
4.
4 feet. 4 feet.
So the thing you have to do, if there is urine in your area, I mean, you can leave the area, or you can pour water into it. For every, for every amount, like for every, one serving of urine, whatever it's called, you need a revius. You need a revius of
Very
water.
small now. Very small now.
Yeah. It's a revius.
How much a person
I don't know.
Just a revius.
Yeah. Even whether it's a big person, a small person, large and a small
Is
person.
there a bun?
Yeah. Meraglam is Rabban. Soya is Darais. Meraglam is Rabban.
Rabbi Shabbat, if I'm not mistaken, you turn around if you have no other ways.
Not in Dalaramas. I don't think so.
Something you turn around.
in a plane.
No, you turn around if it's chutz to Dalaramas. Because you can't see it. There's two things. It has to be outside of your vision, and it has to be outside of Dalaramas. You can turn around, but it has to be.
You walk out and close the door.
Sorry.
Like usually with the lal, everybody moves to the back, and that is the whole back.
Yeah.
Well, if you can smell it,
Very, very tight.
if you can smell it, it's a problem. But if you can't smell it, it's okay because it's a different room. If it's a different room, you don't need
The opening and
Dalaramas.
closing is
Open and close.
You have to stop.
yeah.
When it's open, you have to stop.
The placements, all right?
Sorry?
You can't have one looking at the place where.
Exactly. But I mean, if you're facing a different direction,
Rabbi,
that doesn't make a difference, even if it's open, if you're facing away.
you remember Rabbi, we have a synagogue, and the bathroom was in the middle of the room.
Keep the door closed. What's the problem?
It's right there.
What do you mean?
Right
Exactly, right here.
Which one?
Door's closed.
The old one on 46 and
Yeah, but they built that probably since we built up with the draper. I did it.
you
My
drip,
business.
you put draper.
I put a draper in, so this wouldn't come out. It's not, it's like.
You don't want to sit, you sit over there and you hear the blasting also too. It's in the middle of the room. You
Take
cannot do that.
earphones and listen to
On Shabbat, Rabbi.
Oh, Shabbat. You can. Take earplugs.
So what are you doing on Shabbat?
Some of us says
So what are you doing, Rabbi?
actually says it's possible that we shouldn't have built a bathroom.
שואל שאלות על הדעת.
They're saying that's what it's like.
Interesting.
לאוזניים? בתוך החדר, שומעים הכל.
Interesting. I don't know. Interesting. Okay. We're talking about the Rama.
לא תמיד.
Oh no. Here it is. If
שמח, היה לי מתמח.
no.
לא בטח חשיבותי. לא בטח חשיבותי.
If the urine has been absorbed, so it's not actually in a puddle, but it's been absorbed in the earth or in a garment, still wet, so it's enough to have even less than a revius of water. Just even a small amount of water added to it to nullify it. Okay, here's the chiddush. In those days, remember, they didn't have diapers, Pampers, all of that stuff. Didn't have it. So a mother is, sitting with her baby on her lap, and the baby does what he does. And now the mother's dress is wet from the urine. It's a problem. Shabbat. She can't daven. So Rabbeinu Tam says it's no problem. She should wash her hands and dry her hands on that spot where the urine is. Now, it's derech lichluch. It's derech lichluch,
Why
right?
is that different?
Because she washed her hands. She's drying her hands. You dry your hands. That's derech lichluch. Now, normally, if you are doing derech lichluch to remove a greater lichluch, that's not allowed. Like we said before, you can't use Coke to remove mud, even though Coke on clothes is derech lichluch, but if it's getting rid of a bigger lichluch, that's no good. But over here, my friends, it's not actually getting rid of the urine. You're just adding some water to it. Big deal. The urine is staying there, and it's still dirty. So it's not considered cleaning. It's only a halachic kind of cleaning. It's not even cleaning, but it's a halachic purification to allow you to daven. But it's not a physical cleaning, and it's derech lichluch, and that's why Rabbeinu Tam allows it.
So how come Rabbeinu Tam about when the car flush you water and with lichluch, it's still water, and you add water in that? Why we don't do that halakha also as well?
The water that went on you is lichluch, but when you add water to that water to clean it, that's not lichluch, that's cleaning.
It's just lichluch too. It's yellow, smell, it's a tone.
I understand, but you're not.
You're drying your hands on your.
You dry also when the car flush you also. I'm trying to do it.
No, you can't do it. You can never do it with a kavanah to clean. There's no question about it. Here, your kavanah is not to clean. Your kavanah is to add some water for a halachic purpose. If your kavanah is to clean, it's not allowed. If your kavanah is to clean, you can't do it. Understand? Even there.
So she has to have the kavanah also not to clean.
Exactly. She wants to daven, that's all.
She wants to clean in order so she can.
No, she doesn't want to clean. She wants to reach a halachic purpose of adding water for the purpose of davening. It's not a physical
It's
cleaning.
not gonna actually.
Exactly.
She has to wash her hands up, right? Before she davens. Because that's something there.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
Touching urine makes you have to wash your hands? I don't know. Are you allowed there? Are you allowed there?
Rabbi, אני שמעתי.
Urine is actually very clean. it has no germs. It's like very, what's the word? Sterile, very sterile. If you're stuck in the desert, don't waste it. You got to drink it. It's no joke. It's not unhealthy. I'm just saying. It has ammonia in it, but it's not.
היה לי פועל, הוא אומר שהוא שתה את היון שלו 3 חודשים.
למה?
הוא ככה מפגר. אני לא יודע למה.
I thought he was stuck in the desert.
משהו כזה, אני לא יודע. זה בסדר? זה כמו שכבודו עכשיו אומר, שלא, אם אתה בדזר, זה אפשר...
כן, כן, באמת.
אז שזהו כנראה.
אני לא יודע.
הוא לא מתי הלכה.
Okay. My friends, let us learn the Alter Rebbe. All right. Rabbi Isai, for your information, the Alter Rebbe with English is now online on Chabad.org. So thank you, Yossi, for pointing that out. And that's what I'm going to use now. I'm reading Chaf Aleph in the Alter Rebbe. Different rules apply to a garment that has no dirt or filth on it. Did I skip something? I skipped something. Sorry. Chaf. Going back to Chaf. Different laws apply to a cloth garment. Going tibas dam. Heroic, if there is some filth, for example, a drop of blood or saliva, much more so mud or excrement. Shin bet seif chaf. Im nosan amokam amaluchlach mayim. If he put on the place of the dirt water, Oishar mashkam laban, or any other liquid that will cleanse. Afilu kol shehu, even a small amount. Rani, even a small amount. Chayev is chayev. Av bishle shichshach klal. Even though he did not dip the soiled garment in water at all, he just put a bit of water on it. Because moistening a garment is considered washing it. Listen to this chiddush, even other liquids that do not wash. For example, he says in the note, red wine or beer, rather they make it dirty. You're still not allowed to put it on the place of the dirt to remove it, mitam she's bor, for the reason that's going to be explained. Basically, just like you cannot dry your hands that have water on them in order to get rid of a stain, even though it's dech lichloch, but if it's removing a bigger lichloch, it's not allowed. The same thing if you're using liquids that don't usually clean, like red wine or beer, but you're using it to get rid of a stain, that's still cleaning, that's not allowed. Ella, rather, what should you do? Yikaneach halichluch bismartut. One should wipe off the filth with a rag. Wipe it softly and don't press it, don't squeeze it. Lest you squeeze out the dirt that is absorbed in the garment. There is an isser to squeeze it midrabanan. Like will be explained in Siman Shinchav. I'm going to read note 85. From those sources is apparent that a prohibition exists even though one has no need of the liquid squeezed from the garments and he's not intentionally squeezing out the garments. Nevertheless, if you press the garment firmly will enable obsecration and the liquids be squeezed. Okay. That's the side point. The fact is, if you squeeze liquids out of the garment or dirt out of the garment, that is going to be a violation, whether Torah violation or rabbinic violation, that's a detail. But it's definitely a violation. So that's why you have to, if you're using a cloth, a dry cloth, to wipe off a dirt or whatever it is on your garment, you have to do it gently. Okay, here comes the smag and the smack. A garment that does not have any dirt or filth. Even though it became black.
Also, you can take with a knife or to.
Yeah.
Right? You said that.
Yeah. Excuse me. Even if it became black through the fact that it was being worn or used. I like his translation, actually. He doesn't say it became black. Even though it lost the luster. Hushchar, he says, doesn't mean literally black. If a white garment is black, obviously that's dirty. Hushchar means it's not so white anymore. It's not so white. It lost the luster.
It was white before.
It was white, and now it's not so white. It's gray. It's gray, yellow, whatever. We don't say that soaking it is cleaning it. You're allowed to put a small amount of water on it, not a large amount. The only reason you can't put a large amount is not because it's cleaning, because there is no cleaning if it's a clean garment, because you might squeeze it, like we said before, with walking through the water.
So where is the little bit water coming? Teach me. I thought you never put any water.
A clean garment. According to this opinion, you can put water on a clean garment.
I'm clean, it's okay.
According to this opinion.
Oh.
It's a machloket. According to this opinion, you can.
Okay.
So why do you want to put water on this shirt?
Why would you want to do that on a clean garment?
This is a good question.
It's only for learning.
Well, in the case of the talus that's burning, you want to stop the talus from burning. In the case,
Clean.
You like to extinguish? For a talus?
you're not extinguishing, you're putting it around the fire. You're going to stop the fire from reaching there. You're not going to actually put out the fire. I mean, that's the discussion. Because the fire's going to go out because it's not going to have any fuel. But it's not considered extinguishing. It's considered ground keeping. You're causing the extinguishing. Why would you do that? You got to think up a case why you would do it. Why are you putting a little amount of water on a clean garment? For what purpose?
There's no purpose, just to learn it on the fire.
Halakha is teaching you something practical.
It's only,
What's the practical application?
it's only to learn it on the fire. That's it. It's no reason to put water on Shabbat on a clean way. If maybe you did it by accident, so it's okay.
No, not the one.
Just to learn. That's why we put water. Okay. Shouldn't go.
I don't know. We have to think of an example why you would. But, like the Mishnah Berurah says, you cannot do it for the sake of cleaning the garment. We're just doing it for a different reason, for a side reason, like to put out a fire or whatever else.
But here it's clean, it's no fire, no anything, it's just clean.
He's not doing it for the purpose of cleaning it.
No.
No. You can't do a lot of water anyway because you may squeeze it. Ella im kain ubeged shenemakbed al memo l'seichta mimenu apochoel, which is bar the siman shin aleph. Listen carefully, my friends. Unless it's a type of garment that doesn't bother you if it's wet, then you can even soak it in a lot of water. Listen carefully. The whole idea of not being allowed to put a lot of water on a garment, sure, because you may squeeze it, is only a garment that if it's wet, it bothers you. It's not supposed to be wet. You're not allowed to squeeze it. But if it's a type of garment that it bothers you, then you'll squeeze it. We're afraid you'll squeeze it. But if it's a type of garment that doesn't bother you, let's say in your house you have rags, and the purpose of those rags is to absorb spills. So when it gets wet, it doesn't bother you. When it comes to your shirt, your pants, underwear, even a regular towel, yeah, it's wet, it's not nice, it bothers you. Maybe you'll squeeze it out. When it comes to something that's the purpose is to absorb spills, like a shot, so it's wet, I don't care. So there, we're not going to say this thing that maybe you're going to squeeze it. Of course, you're not allowed to squeeze it, but we're not concerned that you might squeeze it because you don't care about it. That's the idea. Sorry? I don't know. A regular towel, I'm not so sure, because maybe you want to use it.
If I maybe reason why they put water and clean water, because sometimes they're going in the hot to the synagogue, so they can put water in it, and by the time the synagogue is dry, it's hot, really hot. Florida is really hot. Some place, another place, it's boiling. So maybe this is the reason.
And what, that keeps them cold? That keeps them cool?
Yeah, that.
You tried it ever?
Huh?
You tried it? I see that's
not tried. I'm not gonna try.
I don't know if it works.
My work at synagogue is not too far. If it's a 1 hour, I may try it.
I don't know. Lo shamati. I don't know. Okay. Sure. V'yesh cholken al zeh. Some argue on this. When they say, "Shav beged shenelo shum lechlach shuyas zeu kibusay, af im libunay matzil ma'oid." So some disagree and maintain that even when there is no filth on a garment, moistening it with water constitutes laundering it. This applies even if the garment is a bright shine, like a freshly laundered garment. Lachein, this is the opinion, argues on the smag and the smag. Therefore, you cannot put even a small amount of water or any other cleansing liquid, even if your intent is not to clean, because that's obsecration. Right? Obsecration has a definite result.
You ask me if I do something. I take a toilet paper towel, I fold it, and I put it here. Because my work is 15 minutes and sweat in the sun, not now. You're allowed to do that?
No eruv?
Yes, you, of course you.
So why not?
Okay. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But it's hard days.
Yeah. Yesh lachosh ledevreim lahach mebishlatar. The Rebbe says, one should be strict like their opinion, since it's a Torah doubt. In other words, when it comes to this opinion, the smag and the smak, one should not rely on it. One should not put water on a clean garment and say, well, it's a clean garment, there's no law against putting water on it. Yeah, listen carefully to these parentheses out there, bands. She'ein ze malacha she'nitzorach l'gufa o ma she'beg l'maslav noach uloi ava pi she'en miskav l'kach ayin simen reish ayin ches. Listen carefully. Why is it a shel Torah? Why is it a Torah doubt? I mean, he's not intending to wash the garment. So maybe it's a malacha tzarich legufa, a malacha that you don't need the item. The Rebbe says no. It is a malacha hatzricha legufa, because in general, you're happy when your garments get washed. It's not your intention, right? It's a davar she'eino miskaven, but it's a psik reisha. It's a definite result, and you can't say ein tzarich legufa when you benefit from it, even if it's not your intention. If you benefit from it, you can't say it's ein tzarich legufa. That's a rule. You understand? So therefore, it would be a Torah violation. So therefore, don't go into the question of a Torah violation and put water on new or clean garments.
What's the benefit
Of what?
Put water in the clean jar. It's no benefit.
If you're going to shul, it's very hot.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you there.
Exactly.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Ulefi zeh, based on this, mayim sheyesh behem teloi, water that has worms. Yeah, no big deal. You went to the well, and the water has some worms, but you're thirsty. You want to drink the water. You don't want to drink the worms, but you want to drink the water. So what do? The normal thing to do is you take a little shmata and you cover the water, right? You got wormy water. Okay, no big deal. Take a shmata, cover the cups, and drink through the shmata. So the water will come out and the worms will stay behind. A filter, a little filter. According to those that argue in the smak, you can't do that. Because, again, according to Rabbeinu Tam, it's not going to be allowed. It's not there. It's clean water. It's clean water coming through, right? According to the smak, it is allowed because you're using a clean cloth. But according to those that argue, it's not allowed. So what do? Even though it's only a small amount that's getting wet, enough to put your mouth in it. Now, some say, this is the Maram, that when you use a small amount of water, we don't say Shviyas Zeu Kibusay. Again, when you're not intending to clean with that. The author spells it out when it's not your intention to clean. And therefore, according to that opinion, you would be allowed to drink water through the rag. Because only a small amount of it is being soaked. Then your intention is not to clean it at all. Now, we should not protest against those that are lenient and follow this view and drink their wormy water through a shmata. What's the heter? Are you allowed to cover a faucet or Pesach with a shmata? According to the smak, and the smak is no problem. What? No, they cover it so in case there's any crumbs in the water, the shmata absorbs it.
Like a filter?
Like an extra filter. Yeah.
Who does that?
People do it.
So buy the water and that's it. You don't be
More.
Buy the bottle of water and that's it. So Pesach, because this is not local. By Shabbat, you put water in the mageret.
Well, they put the mageret there before Shabbat, but it's tied there. It's still tied there.
Before Shabbat mageret is you take away it in Shabbat. You put the light, the TV before Shabbat. And the TV also.
I have a possible pshat. Let me just finish this and then I'll give you my pshat. Lachain, mutar lishtes amayim boil nishuk eladavabo. Therefore, you'd be allowed to drink the water through this shmata because it's only a small amount. Your intent is not to clean it all. We don't have to stop those that are megal. According to the first opinion, it's allowed regardless. The smak. A God-fearing person will not be megal because it's after all a Torah question. Okay, in answer to your question, what's the heter that people put a shmata around their faucet on Pesach? So, here's a chiddush. Just like we said that you're allowed to make a garment that you don't mind it to be wet, you're allowed to make it wet. And we're not considering going to squeeze it out because it doesn't bother you. So there's a svara that says that something that's designated use is to filter water, that when you use it to filter water, that's not considered washing, that's considered the usage of the garment. It's considered using it as opposed to washing it. Similar to derech lichluch. Just like derech lichluch is not washing, because it's a derech lichluch. So this is a derech straining. Now, if it's a regular garment, so just because you're deciding to use it for straining doesn't mean that's the way you use it. Because right now it's being clean. I'm saying, according to those that don't say that a clean garment doesn't have cleaning. But I'm saying, if it's a garment that is specified, designated for filtering, so then it's possible to say that that's not considered cleaning, that's considered using it. You're using it. And this explains a halacha that is paskin in Siman Shin Chaf. It's actually a machlokes in Siman Shin Chaf. But you know what? I don't want to say it. It's not clear. I'm going to leave that.
I have a tip.
But I'm saying there is such a svar. That would be the svar there.
I have a tip. Public sale, something $8. You touch the filter in the water, for the whole faucet, and you touch it, and that's it.
Yeah, no, that's what we did. When I was growing up, we had like an extra filter that you done, like a metal with this, like a mesh.
Faucet, you
like
touch
a mesh.
It.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
it.
But some people use a cloth. I've been to houses where they use a cloth. Because in Russia and in Poland, they use the cloth.
That's it.
So we use a cloth. That's it.
For sure.
Rachel said that you should have a horse, so you keep it on horse. So you would, be secluded, like very clothed. Wrestler, wherever it is. It's not about a horse. About a horse.
Does he have a forest to go into?
Yeah. No, I'm saying you can go with your car, with electric scooter. You
We
can go a lot
want
of
to be
different
real
things nowadays.
Nachman that.
Rebbe said a horse, about a horse.
Nice. I heard that the I don't know if it's the Belzer Rebbe or the Bubba Rebbe. He bought a portion of a horse. He went in on a partnership with somebody in his horse because he wanted the mitzvah of feeding the animal before the person. Wanted a portion of that mitzvah. We have a million?
Yes, 11.
I personally already davened, but if we have a million, we have 6. Who didn't daven?
Who did not daven originally?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got 6. We have.
And almost I did. I said, no, I'm going to BShishi.
Nice.
He's the one feeding the animal?
No, but he makes a mishliach. Anyway, okay. So, ve'ein chiluk b'chol zeh. There is no difference in all of this matter. Bein begadim levonim letzvuin. If the clothing is white, or if it's dyed, shegam b'tzvum shayach yisur kibus. Even with dyed clothing, colored clothing, the halachas of washing applying. Commission is brought by that, like we explained above. Bein Shem Shel Pishtan, whether they are linen, this is to exclude the opinion of the Maran, by the way, who says only linen. Bein Shem Shel Tzemer, whether they're wool, Oy Meshi, or silk, Oy Sharmin, or any other type. We'll call Makayim. Nevertheless, here comes a better time. The Divrei HaKol, according to all opinions, we don't say that putting a garment in liquid is considered washing it unless it's done in a way of cleaning. But if it's a way of dirtying, person bathes in a permissible way on Shabbos. How do you bathe in a permissible way on Shabbos? Cold water, or less than your exactly. Even if you do not the whole body at the same time, you cannot do a majority. By the way, you can only do a minority of the body. But in any case, you want to dry yourself, you can use a towel to dry yourself. That's not considered cleaning when you use that towel, because that's derech lichluch. The same thing if you wash your hands and you want to dry your hands. Yep.
You wash your hand and the water drop on the jug in here.
Yeah. Derech lichluch. Even if there's a lot of water on your hands and on your body, and you're making the cloth wet. According to this opinion, which is the halacha, that's not washing. That's not washing, that's only dirtying. And now the Alter Rebbe explains, based on this reason, that's why they allowed a person going to do a mitzvah to walk through water in his clothes. So we don't say that putting it in water is cleaning. When you go into water wearing clothes, that's dirtying it. That's not washing it. That's not a normal way to wash it. Yesh machmir and some are machmir. We said this before, that there should not be a lot of water on your hands. You should shake off all the water that you can so that there shouldn't be a lot of it when you dry it. It's a good thing to be strict like that opinion because it doesn't hurt at all. The minhag is to be mekel and not to shake off water, and that is the main halach. And therefore, here comes the chiddush that we said. You're allowed to dry your hands on a garment that a child urinated on in order to nullify the urine with the water that will come on it from his hands. Based on what we said over there, that's not considered washing. Because it's a way of dirtying by drying his hands. It's not a way of washing. I will also little means now, don't use that same idea for another method. The garment is here, right? Her dress is here. It has urine on it. So I'm going to wash my hands on top of the garment. I'm going to pour water over my hands, and I'm going to wash my hands, and the water is going to fall onto the garment after my hands. So that the water is like derech lichluch because I use it to wash my hands. No, it doesn't work because there the water is more or less clean. When you do it with the water that's literally on your hands, that's called derech lichluch. But if you pour water on it just because it passed through your hands on the way down, that's not really derech lichluch because the water is more or less clean.
So you're allowed to wash the hair and then
dry it. Only dry it.
Clean it in your pants?
Exactly.
Okay,
exactly. If you wash it over it, that is considered washing. According to the second opinion. That says that adding water to a clean garment is considered washing. If he has on his clothing any actual dirt, right, any actual tsaya or actual dirt, also this is important. Let's say a person has actual dirt, an actual stain on his garment. He wants to wash it off. So I'm going to wash my hands. I'm going to dry it on that stain. No. That's no good. Because you're using this water, even though it's dirty water, you're using it to remove a greater dirt. That's no good. If there's no dirt there, there's urine there, but it's not a halachic. It's a halachic problem. It's not actual dirt. That's okay. Like that nigga over here, the urine is not being removed. You're nullifying them in a halachic way in order to be able to daven. In order not to get into this whole issue, here's some good advice. Don't put a kid on your lap if he's not wearing a diaper. That's all. Take care of it that way. I mean, he doesn't call it a diaper, he calls it a pillow, but whatever, put something in between. This restriction is a precaution lest the child urinate soil its garments. The disposable diapers used today prevent the possibility of that taking place. Yeah, that seems clear. Okay, my friends, we have a lot more to cover, but we will save it for tomorrow with Hashem's help. And I wish you all a good night. Meyer, yes, please. Very quiet from New York and Hollywood and Los Angeles tonight. All right, have a good night, everybody.